Are you ready to kick Jamesley's butt out of office in November? Let's do it again so he can hear us in Olympia. Are you ready to send Jay Inslee out of office in November? That's so like it. That is absolutely awesome. Well, I'm here to tell you that it is happening, and it was all because of we the people. I absolutely love this state. I grew up in this state, born and raised. I grew up in a small farming community called Chimacum, Washington. Has anybody ever been there? All right, the whole town is here. There's a gas station, a cafe, and a school. I grew up on a family farm there. I went through school until my freshman year of high school. My dad was a deputy sheriff, worked for Jefferson County. My mom worked at the post office. And in my freshman year of high school, my dad got out of law enforcement. They moved our family over to Republic, Washington. Has anybody been to Republic? All right, that whole town is here as well. It's a small mountain town in the northeastern corner of Washington, founded on gold and timber. And that's where I went to high school. That's where I met my high school sweetheart, Barb. We've been married for 43 years this year. I don't know how she's put up with me for so long. But we have 2 grown sons and 7 grandkids that live right here in Washington. And at the age of 19, I joined the United States Army. I served in the world-famous 101st Airborne Division, and I also went through drill sergeant school at Fort Leonard, Missouri, where I helped to turn civilians into soldiers. Do we have any veterans or active duty with us tonight? Perfect. Give them a hand. Thank you for your service. So my job in the military was a combat engineer. And for those of you that don't know what a combat engineer does, we blow things up. And we are going to blow up this election in November, right? I went through the Non-Commissioned Officers Academy with the 101st Airborne. I was an honor graduate of the Non-Commissioned Officers Academy. I was also an honor graduate of my Advanced Individual Training class at Fort Leonard, Missouri. And after 4 years of serving in the Army, Barb and I decided to get out of military life. We moved our young family back to Washington State we both grew up in, that we love. We moved to the Olympia area, and I went to work for other people, learning the trades, the building trades. And after about 4 years of working for other people in 1988, I started my own construction business right out of Olympia. And just to let you know where I come from, I started that business with nothing. I had 1 employee and a 1977 Datsun pickup truck that I bought from my grandpa for $600 on payments. I was very, very wealthy, right? But I was realizing my American dream, right? I was working for myself. I was building a business, building a future for my family. And I ran that business for over 20 years, right out of Olympia. I built it up to where I had multiple trucks and crews doing jobs all around Puget Sound. And after running that business for a little over 20 years, I decided I was going to realize my childhood dream, which was to be a police officer. I had a lot of respect for my dad and people that he knew, his friends in law enforcement. And so in 2010, a job opening came open for a police officer in Republic, where I went to high school, where I met Barb, where she lived her entire life. And I applied for that job. I told Barb, you know, I'm 49 years old. If I don't realize my childhood dream here pretty quick, I'm going to be too old. And she kind of looked at me and said, well, you're a little bit too old right now, but go for it. But I got hired. I made it through the police academy with a class that was about half my age, and a lot of them called me Grandpa. But I became a police officer, realized my childhood dream, and I've been a patrol officer. I've been a canine handler. I've been a narcotics detective for 3 years, and I've been the chief of police in Republic for the last 4 years straight. It's very rewarding work, right? To protect good people and put criminals in jail where they belong, right? So a series of events started happening in my life starting in 2018. These things had just happened. They weren't by my planning, weren't by my design. You remember back in 2018 when that Anti-Gun Initiative 1639 passed in this state? Right, boo. Boo is right. Look at all you people up there. What are you doing so far away? So it made it against the law for military-age young adults, 18 to 21, they could not buy a semi-automatic rifle, even a 10-22 Plinker rifle that most kids learn how to shoot with, right? Couldn't buy one. And if they already owned one, they couldn't leave their own property with it. Not only that, but it made potential felons out of otherwise law-abiding citizens. If a criminal broke into your home, stole a firearm from you, and went out and committed a crime with that, you as a homeowner could be charged with up to a felony for what that criminal did. Right? I knew it was bad law. Our Attorney General, Bob Ferguson, wrote the title for that. Yes, boo. Vote him out as well. It was all about gun and school safety, right? And who doesn't want gun and school safety? I've talked to a lot of people. All they did is read the title. They didn't read the 30 pages of garbage that was in it. They read the title. And yeah, I'm for gun and school safety, so they voted for it. He deceived a lot of people. A lot of people. So the day after that initiative passed, I was on duty in Republic, and I was asked by citizens that I serve if I was going to start arresting 18 to 21-year-olds who I saw with a semi-automatic rifle. And my answer to them was, no, I'm not going to do that because it would be a violation of their God-given, constitutionally protected rights. And I took an oath of office to uphold and defend the Constitution. So I wasn't going to do it. My stance got me on the national news. Can you believe that? A public servant standing up for citizens' rights makes national news. I did hundreds of radio and newspaper interviews all across the United States. I was on Fox and Friends. I was on the Tucker Carlson show. Yes, we love Tucker Carlson, right? Talking about our rights and responsibilities and the duty of public servants to stand up for citizens' rights. Because in the Washington State Constitution, this is something we don't learn in school, right? But after I get into office, we're going to start. Article 1, Section 1 of the Washington State Constitution says that the power is inherent in the people and government is there to protect citizens' rights. It is the duty of public servants to stand up for citizens' rights. And then if you read Article 1, Section 24 of the Washington State Constitution, you know, we all know what the Second Amendment says, but Article 1, Section 24 of the Washington State Constitution is even more explicit. It says the right of the individual citizen to bear arms in defense of himself or the state shall not be impaired. Is that beautiful or what? That is what public servants raise their right hand and swear an oath to uphold and defend. Has our governor been upholding his oath of office? He needs to be voted out in November. So several citizens asked me that same day, and I gave them the same answer. You know, my stance and all the attention that it brought, I didn't plan on that. I didn't plan on running for office. All of these things just started happening. So on the national news, that led me to writing a book. I wrote a book called American Cop in December of 2018, 2 years ago, on this very subject and the duty of public servants and our government to protect our rights. Founders' quotes, communist leaders' quotes are in that book. There's a lot of things that we are not taught and we need to be. So that book went to #1 on Amazon in multiple categories, and it was #1 book on Amazon for weeks. That led me to being invited around the state to Republican Party Lincoln Day dinners, to gun shows and sportsman shows, speaking to citizens groups about our rights and responsibilities and the duty of public servants. Every weekend in the spring and into summer of 2019, I was traveling somewhere around the state, speaking to citizens groups. And the more people that had read American Cop, the more people were coming out to hear me speak. People started asking me to run for governor. Now, I don't know about you, but I didn't grow up thinking, man, someday I wish that I would just be a politician, right? Who does that? I guess some people do, but that was the furthest thing from my mind. I detest most politicians, right? They tell you what they think you want to hear when it's time for an election and they need a donation, and they go about their dirty work the rest of the time. I detest most of them. Are you with me on that? We have some good ones, but they're few and far between.
It's going to keep falling.
Yeah, don't put it up there.
So in July of 2019, I talked to Barb, kind of the same way I did when I told her I was going to go to the police academy at 49 years old, and talked to her about our 2 grown sons and 7 grandkids that live in this state and how many people were asking me to do the same thing. And that if I didn't jump in with both feet and help to turn this state around, that I would regret it for the rest of my life, and I don't like to live with regret. So I had a press conference and an announcement speech in the City Park of Republic in July of 2019, and I announced that I was running for governor. And you know what everybody said? Well, not everybody. People that supposedly knew a thing or two about politics. They said, well, you know, you're from a small town in eastern Washington. Nobody's going to vote for you on the west side. Seattle runs this state. King County runs this state. I heard that I don't know how many times. Yeah, boo. Boo is right. I heard that day in and day out, but I kept on plugging along. I did some meet and greets where 1 person showed up, but I kept going. I kept spreading the word. And now look at this. Look around you, right? We the people are going to let our voice be heard this year. And it's not just conservative-minded people. I am hearing from Democrats. We have done about 5 or 6 rallies in King County. Hundreds of people are coming out. And when I get done speaking, I always have a meet and greet line. If anybody wants to come up, shake my hand, take a picture, I love to meet every one of you. And I will be right over there when I'm done, by the way, but I'm not done yet. But every night at the meet and greet line, people are coming up to me and they're saying, I am a Democrat. I've never thought about voting for a Republican in my life, but I see what's going on with Jay Inslee. They don't like it any more than anybody else. They own businesses. They have kids in school. They're trying to make a living and raise a family. They don't like all of this dictation that's coming from the governor's office. And they hear my message about individual freedom and liberty, and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And when we have a government and a governor that abides by that rule of law, which is the Constitution, right? That's the rule book for our government. It doesn't tell us what we can and can't do. It tells our government what it can and can't do. And when we have a government and a governor that follows that rule of law, stays in its lane, then it protects everyone equally. It doesn't matter the color of your skin. It doesn't matter your age, your education, or your income. Everyone is protected equally. And that is resonating across the political spectrum. And that's why we are taking Democrat votes from Jay Inslee, and we are going to win. They're seeing what's going on in Seattle with the riots, right? We all have a First Amendment right to peaceably assemble, speak our mind, go to the church of our choice, and the freedom of press, right? That's in the U.S. Constitution, the First Amendment. But when people start looting stores, they start lighting buildings and cars on fire and throwing rocks and frozen water bottles at our police, that is no longer a First Amendment protected right. That is a crime. It's called a riot. And they're seeing this happening, and our elected public servants with no backbone standing there watching it happen, or saying they don't even know what's going on. They're sick and tired of it, and so am I, and I know you are as well. We need people in public office that have a backbone, that will stand up and say the truth, no matter what. Jay Inslee, at the request of the state patrol and the local police, sent in the National Guard after he figured out that there was something going on, right? Remember that? His press conference? Oh, I don't even know what's going on in there. 48 hours had been on the national news and he has no clue. Well, he's clueless about a lot of things. So at the request of the State Patrol and local law enforcement, he did, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Washington State National Guard, sent in the National Guard to back them up. But what did he do first? He disarmed them. He sent our young men and women into a violent situation without the means to protect themselves or other people. That's what they're going in there for. And then shortly after that, pulled everybody out and started negotiating with criminals. You know, there's people that lived there, people that own businesses, people that worked there. They were being terrorized. There were murders that happened, arson, assaults, theft. Those are crimes. But we have a bunch of spineless politicians that just stand by and let it happen, and that has to end in November. So this is not the first time we've had riots, right? We've had riots in our past. And when I'm governor and things start getting out of control, they start turning violent, I will have the National Guard spun up and staged close to where the violence is starting to happen with the means to protect themselves and other people. You haven't even heard the good part yet. And when the local law enforcement and State Patrol call for backup, the National Guard will be sent in there to help the local police to arrest the criminals and put their ass in jail where they belong. We have got to return law and order to this state. Seattle used to be a beautiful city, right? When I was a kid, my parents took me down there, took my family down there, my brothers. When my kids were little, we went downtown Seattle to the Space Needle. I wouldn't take a family down there now. It's a mess. People living all over on the streets, dirty needles everywhere. It's absolutely pathetic. And you know what Jay Inslee's answer is to everybody living on the street? Give me millions and millions more taxpayer dollars so we can build houses for all these people. That would create more problems because it's not focusing on the core issue. If we built a home for everyone living on the street and tomorrow we wake up, everybody's in a home. That's going to do many things. People are going to come here from all over the United States with their hand up saying, I don't have a home either, build me one too. Right? And people are going to start dying of overdoses in those houses. Because the core issue with this, it's not all about homes. It's a mental health and an addiction crisis that we're facing. Like I said, I was narcotics detective for about 3 years. I worked for the North Central Washington Narcotics Task Force. We had a zero tolerance policy. You can go to Seattle and King County right now and the police will not arrest you for having 7 or 8 grams of heroin on you because the prosecutors will not prosecute those crimes. The left says it's not compassionate to put an addict in jail. I found exactly the opposite to be true. We had a zero tolerance policy. If you had residue of heroin in a baggie, that's a felony in Washington State. We would arrest them, they'd go to jail, they'd see the judge, and the judge would give them a choice. They can go to prison or they can go to treatment. And almost all of them chose treatment. And a funny thing started happening, right? They'd get their head clear, they'd get off the drugs, they'd get a job, they'd get their kids back, and they would come back and give me a hug and thank me for saving their life. That's compassion. That's compassion, but the left says it's not compassionate to put an addict in jail. It's a bunch of garbage. Anybody want a drink? I went through toured through a homeless treatment facility down in Longview not too long ago, and they used to take mostly state funding, like most all of the facilities around this state. But with the state funding comes the state rules, and they had to be a zero threshold entry program, which means people could come and go as they please, very lax rules, but they were only getting single-digit success rates. The board of directors got together, and this is why they formed this company down in Longview, was to help the community because they were starting to get overrun with people living on the street, stuck in addiction. So the board of directors got together and said, this isn't working. So they quit taking mostly state funding so they could make their own rules. Now they're funded by local businesses and donors in the area. And they completely changed their format, changed their rules. Now they have a locked door with a security guard and security cameras. They've got mental health professionals. They've got drug addiction counselors. They've got a daycare for family units when mom and dad are going to look for a job or going to counseling. And they've gone from single-digit success rate to 76% success. That's compassion, right? And they count success as someone coming in off the streets with either a mental health problem or an addiction problem and ending up on their own, in their own place with a job, paying their own way in their family unit together. That, to me, is compassion, and we need to have that all across this state. This is awesome. This is we the people standing up for our rights and taking our state back from the far left. This is absolutely awesome. We are going to do it. We have to do it. We cannot afford 4 more years of Jay Inslee. We can hardly afford the first 8 years, right? Remember when he was first running for office, his first term, he promised, I will never raise taxes. He has lied to us 33 times. He has cost us over $50 billion. The state budget has gone in his term from about $30 billion to almost $60 billion that the state government is spending. That money does not come from something the state produces and sells and makes a profit like a business does, right? That money comes right out of our pockets, right out of our businesses. My take on that is we know what to do with our money better than somebody in Olympia does, and we need to reduce taxes on the citizens. We the people are in charge, right? Article 1, Section 1 of the Washington State Constitution. Remember this. The power is inherent in the people, and government's there to protect our rights, not take every dime that we make for their stupid-ass programs. The sex ed bill, right? Is anybody happy with the sex ed bill? We need to vote that down in November and get rid of that garbage. I want parents to have a say in where their children are being educated, whether that's private school, homeschool, or public school. Parents are in charge of their children, not a government bureaucrat. And with parents in charge of where their children are educated, and we have the money follow the child, that's going to lead to competition among the schools, which is going to raise the level of education up dramatically in this state. It's just like in the private business world. If you're running a business and somebody down the road opens a business similar to yours, you have to raise your standards, right? You have to raise your customer service. You have to raise the level of your product. That's competition. And when parents have the choice of where their children are going to be educated and the money follows the child, that is going to create competition. And everyone is going to win. Our children are going to be far better educated. That's what we need to do, and we also need to bring back the trades to high school. The trades all across the state are screaming for employees, high-paying jobs at the trades. And if we can give our young adults a leg up by giving them a head start in school on the trades, they can walk right out of high school with a high-paying job. Not everybody wants to go to college. Not everybody needs to go to college. Not everybody wants that debt hanging over them for half their life, right? I mean, I'm not anti-college, but we need to give our young people that choice. We need doctors. We need scientists. We need nurses. We need a couple attorneys. Right? But giving our young people a leg up and a choice right out of high school is what we need to do. So the trades need to come back to high school. Are you with me on that? Does anybody here fish? Yes? Who likes salmon? I love you guys. Thank you. Hey, you're making me sweat up here. So the current governor wants to bring back salmon, spending millions and millions of taxpayer dollars to study this problem. We need salmon to feed the orcas. How do we do that? Well, you might start, Mr. Inslee, by not dumping millions of gallons of rock and holding nobody accountable, right? So I'm not against the orcas, right? I love the orcas. We need salmon to feed the orcas. They're beautiful animals. If you've ever seen them in the wild, they are absolutely awesome. We need salmon to feed the orcas. We also need salmon for industry in this state, right? The fishing industry used to be huge in Washington State. People would come here from all over the world, all over the United States to go fishing. I want salmon to come back for families to go out on the boats and fish and spend quality time together, bring back dinner. That's what I want, right? We don't need to study all these things to death. It's common sense. We need to do 4 things. Usually I say 3, but last night somebody added a 4th one and I liked it. We need to focus on 4 things. Number 1, we need our hatcheries putting out 100%, and we need to build more hatcheries where they're needed. We need to manage the wildlife in this state, and that includes predators. You can't let seals and sea lions and birds pile up at the bottom of dams and mouths of rivers and expect salmon to get in or out, right? Predator control. It's part of wildlife management 101. And number 3, we need to work on habitat, right? Because salmon need clean gravel to spawn in. And then number 4 thing we need to do is kick Jay Inslee's ass out of office in November. Is that just common sense stuff, right? Yeah, but the left wants to spend millions of dollars to study this problem. It is absolutely unbelievable. That's what career politicians get us. That's what a law degree and spending your life in politics gets us. We need to end this reign. Unbelievable. Watching my clock because I got a plane to catch. So,
Grandma.
Oh, I love you guys. You're not making it easy on me. Is anybody happy with the way this virus was handled by our governor? He decided he's going to pick winners and losers, right? He's going to say who's essential and who's not. Well, I got news for him. We are all essential. If you owned an abortion clinic or a pot store or a big box store, Jay Inslee said you could go to work. But if you owned a church or ran a church or a gun store or a mom and pop cafe or a salon or a barber shop, you had to close, right? It's like he thought the virus knew which buildings it could go into and which it couldn't. It made absolutely no sense. He shut down businesses that are never going to reopen. People lost their life savings because of his decisions. He says that it's because of the virus. It's because of his reaction to the virus. So this isn't the first time we've had a virus, right? We've had bird flu, swine flu, Ebola. They come and they go. When I'm governor and the next virus comes around, I will have press conferences with the medical professionals to let everybody know what's going on, what we should do to protect ourselves, our family, and our business, what might happen if we don't follow the medical advice. And then as governor, make sure the supply chain is as open as possible for all the equipment that's needed. And then let free individual citizens decide what's best for themselves, their family, and their business. Because that's how you're governor of a free state of free people. We are all Americans. Our forefathers fought and died to free this country, and here we are in 2020 with one man in the governor's office telling us all what we're going to do in our daily lives and what we're going to wear until there's a vaccine. Well, I got news for him. We the people are standing up and reclaiming our rights and kicking his ass out of office. I want to tell you a true story, something that happened in my life decades ago. I'm not old now, right? I can talk about decades ago. 59 years old. So when I was a young sergeant in the U.S. Army, and you know, unlike most politicians, this is really a true story, okay? I was in the U.S. Army and I was given orders to go overseas to South Korea for a year on a hardship tour. I was married. Nick, my oldest son, was 3. My youngest son was 1.5 years old. And I got orders for a hardship tour, which means you're going close to danger and you can't take your family. I was stationed right up by the DMZ. And that's the border between North and South Korea. And I went over there for a year, and every year in Korea they had something called Team Spirit. And that's where every branch of the South Korean forces and every branch of the American forces would all get together and do a joint military exercise all over this nation of South Korea. And I was in the Army, so we traveled around the dirt roads and the countryside in jeeps and trucks. And there are little villages that dotted these roads. And every time our military convoy would come through, you know, trucks and jeeps loaded with equipment and GIs, the people that lived in those villages would come running up to the edge of the road when they heard the convoy coming, and they would line up along the edge of this dirt road. And as we drove by, and I will never forget this, it imprinted in my heart and in my mind, they would stand there, little kids, older people, and they'd have a big smile on their face, and they'd be waving with one hand, and in their other hand they would have a small American flag. They didn't care what color our skin was. They didn't care what our age, our education, our rank, or anything else. The only thing they cared about is that we were Americans in those vehicles. We were part of the greatest nation in the history of the world, and we were there to protect them. And we need to remember that here at home. The left tries to divide us by our skin color, by our gender, by our age, our education, our income, all the time. We need to remember that we are all Americans and we stand for something very great, and it's time that we take those rights back. I appreciate you all being here. Please share our content on culpforgovernor.com as well as our Facebook page. We've got over 75,000 followers on our Facebook page. That is more than the Democrat Party in this state. That is more than the Republican Party in this state. And we together are going to lead Washington's comeback and send common sense to Olympia. Thank you all. God bless you and God bless America. I will be right over here if anybody wants to come up and meet me.
Thank my God above, giving me victory, as the flag still stands for freedom, and take them away. God, America, where they start, no, I
on me now. Don't sit down on me now. I'm talking about taking the power back and giving it to we the people. I want you people to be angry at what they've done to you. Angry that they took your job. Angry that they screwed up your business.